I'm Amanda, and this is Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. Today, I have with me Barbie Mills. She is the owner and designer behind the Quilting Mill. She makes beautiful pantograph designs for all your digital pantograph sewing quilting needs. Oh, she's fantastic. So I'm just excited to talk about all things long arming. It's so fun to talk to other long armers and just to hear her process behind designing super fun pantographs. Ugh, if you know, you know. But for me, long arming is like my most favorite part of the quilting process. So I just love this. So anyway, I'm so excited for you to hear this episode and go check out Barbie's designs if you haven't already. She's at the Quilting Mill, so go check her out. And let's get into it. I see you there without any Not Your Granny's Quilt Show merch yet. So get on over to the shop. It's nygqs.printify.me and go grab some swag today. Hey, just needed to pop in real quick to say the code. Oh my gosh. Okay. You'll hear it at the end of the episode, but I'm going to give it to you now. Barbie was so generous and she's giving our listeners a coupon code to use in her panto shop. So she has other things too, like cute t-shirts. And anyway, if you use code Amanda, you will get 20% off your total purchase in her shop. But if you use code Amanda30, you'll get 30% off of the purchase of 5 or more pantographs. Thank you so much, Barbie. Well, welcome to the show today, Barbie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I was so excited because I mean, I don't think it's a secret. I talk about how much I love long arming on here all the time, but so to talk to another long armor is like so fun.
Right?
So
I love it too.
yeah. So I'm super excited that you're here, but I want to go to the start. Like, where did you get introduced to quilting and how did it work its way into your life?
Okay, so I grew up in Ohio and I live in Utah now, but um, I've been sewing since I was 4.
Oh, wow.
Um, I have a scrapbook with this little Christmas tree that my mom drew X's on a piece of fabric, and I made a Christmas tree when I was 4. So that was my first project, and my mom taught me how to do a lot, and then I taught myself how to do a lot. And when I was in junior high, I would come home from school and she and I would watch Simply Quilts on HGTV
Mhm.
a couple times a week. And we both loved watching it. We thought it was great fun. My mom always wanted to quilt, but her health didn't really allow her to.
Mhm.
Um, well, and priorities, I'm sure, if
Yeah.
because we all make choices.
Right.
But, that was something she'd always wanted to do and never did, and, um, I made my first quilt, um okay, backing up a little bit.
Mhm.
She also had a book it was Lap Quilts by Georgia Bonsteel. I think I have it on the shelf over there,
Mm.
but, it had all these different block patterns, and in the back, it had templates so you could trace and and cut
Okay.
out and make little blocks. And so I started making blocks for fun. I don't know how old I was, but um, I thought it was great. Really enjoyed doing that. Although I did measure the templates and use a rotary cutter because we'd been watching on TV and we saw how much better a rotary cutter was.
Yeah.
Um, and then I made my first quilt as a gift for a youth leader. I think I was 17, maybe 16.
Mhm.
But when she was moving, and she'd been really influential in my life, and made her a sampler quilt with some of those blocks from the book.
Yeah.
And I tied that one, did the whole envelope thing where
Mhm.
sew around the edges and turn it right side out. I would never dream of doing that now, but um, that was my first quilt. And then my second quilt, a week before I went to college, I was like, "Mom, I don't like the comforter I bought. I want to make a quilt instead." And she was like, "You're crazy, but go for it."
Mhm.
And I did.
Wow.
So so I still have that one. Don't have the first one because that was given away.
Yeah.
But uh, then after I got married, I made a couple baby quilts for people and decided I want to make a quilt for our bed
Mhm.
and didn't want to tie it like I tied my first two and found some blogs. Like O Franson was the
Mm.
one that really got me started and learned how to free motion quilt myself. Well, kind of. I read the tutorials and I was like, "Oh, I can try that." So
Yeah.
on this quilt, I stitched in the ditch with the hopping foot.
Whoa.
It's awful. It's so bad. But the quilt is still held together all these years later. So,
So it can't be that bad.
yeah, not too bad. So, let's see. I have a long story. Um
Good, I like
from
it.
there from there, let's see. So, I was a teacher. I went to school for family consumer science education. So
Okay.
I took a lot of sewing and clothing construction classes when I was in college, and none of them were about quilting, but did a lot of other sewing stuff for a while. Worked in a wedding dress shop for a while. That was really fun. We did custom wedding gowns, and I got to
Fun.
help out with that. And um, so then after, let's see, so after I graduated and I was married, I was teaching and I'd always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So when my second baby was born, my husband finally had graduated and had a real job. So I was like, yay, I get to stay home. And 6 months later, I was like, this is terrible. Like and it's not terrible, but it was hard and I
Yeah.
needed something else. And
Yeah.
I happened to be at Joann's and they had a sign up saying they needed a quilting instructor. And I was like, I can do that. So got a job as a quilting instructor,
Wow.
very, very part time. So it gave me just a little something to do
Mhm.
that stayed done. And while I was there, I was introduced to the crochet instructor, and she had just bought a long arm
Oh.
and was selling a grace frame that she had. And she was like, yeah, you put your own sewing machine on it and move that around. And I was like, my mind was blown. I knew that long arms existed, but it just seemed like so impossible for anything like
Yeah.
that I would never get there myself. So
Yeah.
I was like, hey, if I can do this, that would be fantastic. So I bought the frame from her for $200.
Holy moly.
And um so I used that for a while. I outgrew it really fast, but because I only had 7 inches of throat space,
Gosh. Yeah.
and now I have a 32-inch Innova. So
Yeah.
like now it's like 7 inches is funny.
Yeah.
But just over time, like I upgraded that and eventually I think it was so I started my business in 2012
Okay.
and I still had a small machine, but I got the Juki to put on the Grace frame rather than my domestic machine.
Mhm.
And um, I think it was 2013 when I got my long arm. I really started my business too early, though. I was not very good at what I did. I was like, I can meander. That's what people want, right? And people want more than a meander most of
Mhm.
the time. I've
Mhm.
done like 5 quilts with a meander in 10 years. So,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty rare.
Yeah, it really is. But let's see. So then I moved to a bigger house in 2017 and I had room for a second long arm.
Mm.
And thank you, Mom, for funding that purchase. So I got one with the computer
Mm.
and thought, okay, I can do custom on this and computer on that.
Yeah.
And eventually the custom just didn't work out because of like we had a bunch of family stuff when my parents passed away and
Mm.
my sister came to live with us and all this crazy stuff. And custom quilting just doesn't work for my brain
Mhm.
anymore. And I am totally okay with that. It took a long time to get there though.
Yeah.
Like for a long time, I would look at people's work and feel really bad that I wasn't doing that anymore.
Mm.
Cause at a time it was my very favorite, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can still appreciate the art, but I don't feel so sad that I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
So then I started designing pantographs for the computerized machines in 2021. So
Okay.
going on 3 years now of doing
Yeah.
that. And turns out I like that part even better than quilting.
Really.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
So
it.
cool.
So I've got over 200 designs in my Etsy shop right now, and it's going well.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoy that. And now I'm teaching a class doing that, and that's going well too. So
Awesome.
it's been a really fun adventure.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like it.
so I had 2 more kids during the whole process. So I've
Yeah.
got 4 total, and because of all the little people around, I
Yeah.
kept my business really small for a long time,
Mhm.
and I was okay with that. And now all my kids are in school, and I've got more time to do what I love, which is really fun,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for that.
That's amazing. Yeah, it sounds like such a wild ride, but, like, I think when you find what just, like, sparks you and makes you feel happy and, like, makes you wanna keep going, it's, like, so important to lean into that because, like you, I
Yes.
was a teacher,
Oh, I didn't
and
realize that.
yeah, yeah, I taught elementary for 8 years, so,
Okay.
um, but yeah, in 2021, I quit. It was just a lot of realizations happening at that moment, lots of therapy and lots of
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god, what am I doing with my life?" And we had the business because we had started in about, 2018 is when we started, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, it was kind of slow just because my mom was mostly doing it when I wasn't teaching. I would go over because I had a week off of school every, like, 7 to 8 weeks, or yeah. Um, And so I'd be over there, but it was just, like, not enough. I ran our social media and stuff, but not being there, it was just, like, hard to feel connected to it, and just, like,
Mhm.
the more I worked on it, the more I wanted to be there and not at school and, all these things. But yeah, anyway, so I can relate to that kind of,
Yeah,
like, just wanting to do something different, and although yours is in, home economic stuff, it's, like, it's still a different world being in
it is.
a classroom than running your own business and calling the shots and
Yeah.
doing what you wanna do, so
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I still love to teach,
mhm,
which is a big part of why I'm teaching a pantograph design course now.
yeah. I think that's so smart, and, people ask all the time, "Are you gonna go back to teaching?" And I'm like, not in the not in the traditional sense, maybe, like, I don't ever see myself stepping back into a school, but I
Mhm.
definitely have some ideas milling about for wanting to do, kids sewing classes, or I did at our local quilt shop around this time last year. I was teaching long arming classes, like teaching
Oh,
people how to use
nice.
the long arms so that they could come rent them. And that was super fun because I long arm all day, all the time anyway. So
Yeah.
on the same kind of machine. And so it was just easy and fun because it's like I've done it so many times. I like know all the little ins and outs, and anything that they struggled with, I could troubleshoot it so fast. It, like, felt really good to be able to do that because I think when you're learning the long arm, it's so intimidating, and so the fact that you ended up with a grace frame and, like, I think the concept for people is that you're moving the sewing machine is, like, such a mind, like, twister that they're just like, "Wait,
Mhm.
what?" And it's like, you can see the people that struggle with that as they're, like, learning how the long arm works, and they're just like, "Well, how is this?" I'm like, "You move this so," and they're like, "Oh, that whole thing moves." I'm like, "Yeah, this is the sewing machine, and this is what you're moving. You're not moving the material." Like, so
Yeah.
that was, like, fun to kinda help people wrap their minds around and, like, watch them get the hang of it, and
Mhm.
so but, like, getting the hang of it can be so tricky, and learning all
Oh,
the ins
yeah.
and outs of it and how it all goes together. And I think I've said it before, but I'll say it a million times over because it's true. But when I learned after learning to long arm, I became a better piecer, like just a better all around quilter.
Yes.
And
Absolutely. Me too.
so like knowing the whole process is like it makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
I think when you just make a top, you're like, all right, somebody else finished my quilt. It's like, no, come here. I got something to show you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I don't do a whole lot of piecing anymore,
mm,
but, because I have so many things that I would rather do,
yeah.
and I do enjoy the piecing, but,
Hmm.
other stuff. But I did make a new quilt for our bed,
Mm.
besides the one that I did on my domestic machine with my hopping foot stitching in the ditch. Um, so I did um, a blog hop with friends. I don't even remember how many years ago it was now,
Mm,
but maybe 8 or 10, give or take. Well, my kid is 10 years old. It's probably been about 10 years. And we used this old book and we all were assigned different blocks. And then we took turns
mhm,
giving instructions on how to make the block from that book. And
mm,
so I made mine in different sizes and ended up doing a medallion style. So I put
mm.
like a 36-inch block in the middle and put some
Oh,
stuff
wow.
around it and added all the borders. And I remember when I was putting everything together because I was really meticulous about trimming my half square triangles and everything and
Mhm,
making sure it was all accurate. And then I put sashing in everything,
mm.
and I was like, wow, this actually all fits and it's still flat and my borders are the right size. And it was such a dream to quilt it. It was so great.
Mhm.
So I did custom quilt that one. So I get to have custom quilting on my bed, which is lovely.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But yeah.
hard. It's a hard thing, and to be having to stand directly over the machine and be the one, to you're drawing, it's your art, but
Mhm.
it's like you're stuck to the machine, whereas when you're doing digital, you still have to monitor it, obviously, but it's a little easier to kind of set it and then you can do other tasks nearby. You're not glued
Mhm.
to the machine the entire time. And that's what
Absolutely.
my mom and I, when we were planning on getting our machine and kind of what our business would be and all those things, it was like, yeah, we want the computer, we want the biggest frame we can get, we want the biggest machine we can get because we're not interested. And we'll do custom if we need, if a client specifically requests it. And we've had a few. It's just so harder on a bigger machine. So it's like you sacrifice a little bit there, but it's
Yeah.
still doable and you can still di- digitize a bunch of things to custom quilt. And that's how we
Yes, you
do it.
can.
If people request custom, we do it with digital motifs and patterns. But yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm like you. I just want to look at people's custom jobs all the time because they're just
Mhm.
so cool. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
And to like watch
Yep.
people just like whip out feathers and like do their thing. I'm just like, I don't, I have like my feathers look like literal lumps of poop. So I don't know what.
Feathers take a lot of practice. I remember when I was learning how to do feathers, I made a twin size trip around the world quilt
Mhm.
and I quilted the entire thing in feathers. I was like, this is my feather practice quilt.
Wow.
I'm going to figure out how to do feathers by the end of this quilt.
Yeah.
And it took the whole quilt to get really good at them.
Yeah. I can imagine it's a skill you have to hone, but like you also have to have the time and the patience to do it. And I'm just like, nope, I want to load a quilt. I want to pick a beautiful digital design that I know is going to give that quilt some personality
Mhm.
and go. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of with you. It's beautiful, but there's other things to be done.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah. And now as my kids are getting older and I'm realizing, oh, they actually still need me.
mhm,
It's a
mhm.
lot different than when they would come ask me for a drink, even though dad was upstairs in the living room.
You're like, go ask your dad.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore,
Mhm.
but they still need me. And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for the flexibility that I can be around to help them when they need me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it is nice to have that, and I think fortunately for me, like, our boys went to my school, so I did get to see them quite a bit, but
Oh, that's so nice.
while they were in school, but our youngest just graduated this last year and or yeah, just in May, and so he was didn't he like he hit 16, got a car, and we never saw him, so but it
Mm,
was like
yeah,
when he'd come home and need to talk or just, like, need stuff, it's like, yeah, that flexibility of being able to, like, be around for him when he needed that is, like, so important, and
yeah,
growing up with, like, a stay-at-home mom, like, she was always around, so it was just, like, that was ingrained in me to be an important piece of, like, make sure you're there for your kids and,
yeah, me too.
so when you can do that, it feels like a gift in our society.
It really does. Yeah, it's especially with, like, housing costs and everything,
Yeah.
it's yeah, I'm assuming they're pretty crazy in Boise like they are in Utah.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad,
Yeah,
like, Boise used to be super affordable, and now it's, like, it's not anymore, it's really sad because I think it was a great place for people to come start raising a family on a budget and, if they were looking for somewhere that was nice and safe and clean, but also affordable, it's like,
mhm,
this isn't the spot anymore, and it just makes me so sad. I've lived here my whole life, and just to watch people not be able to afford to live in the place where they've lived their entire lives is just it's a
yeah,
sight. I don't like it, but I do know our mayor is working really hard to increase the amount of low income based housing and just like opportunities for families and just young people to be able to live in our town
yeah,
and continue to live and work here. So it's
yeah,
interesting. But
that
anyway,
that's really important.
yeah. And I think even though I don't know, it also makes me really aware of the privilege I have to be able to do this, to do what I do, to have a business, to be self-employed, to have a podcast, it's like I have a degree and I could
Yeah,
go use it. I probably, by all accounts should be using it, but it's not for me, it's not the right thing and
yeah,
there's just
yeah,
sacrifices that need to be made, but
mhm,
it's well worth it in the end. I think if your family, if your kids get to be raised seeing their mom do something that sparks joy and brings fulfillment and like you're creating we all create our life experience. And so to see you doing that, I think is an important thing for kids to see. Like,
yeah, I agree, and that makes me so happy that I get to do that,
yeah.
and you use the word privilege, it absolutely is a privilege.
Hmm.
Like, I wouldn't be where I am today if it hadn't been for, um, well, like my mom helping me buy my second long arm. Actually, my first long arm was a result of, I was able to get that when I got some inheritance money as
Mm.
well. So, like,
Yeah.
I cannot deny that that's been such a privilege for me, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think being able to acknowledge it and then be a voice of positivity and love and kindness out there is like really important too. You
Mhm.
have to use our
Yeah,
position wisely. And I think for me, I strive to do that here and in our business, with integrity. And I know it's important to my mom too. So it's like that helps that I know I can always trust that w- like between the two of us, we're never going to let anything go out the door that we're not happy with 100% or that
right,
we haven't put every ounce of our best effort into, and we're going to treat everybody that comes to us with the same level of respect as anybody else and level of honesty. I think that's like in business a tricky thing for especially women. We feel like we have to well, I don't know about you, but like there's a people pleasy tendency to like
yeah,
say yes to everybody and oh, if I reject this then I'm I'm gonna fail or the business is gonna like I'm missing out on money, but like being honest with people and knowing what your boundaries are so that you can protect yourself and your business while
Mhm.
also giving people an opportunity if you can't help them to go find someone else instead of wasting their time because it's not just a waste of your own time, it's a waste of that person's time too if you're trying to do something
Yeah,
that you can't really give them. And so and maybe that was something, that you grappled with s- discontinuing your custom quilting, but I think
it
that
absolutely was. Yeah,
that realistic kind of hard look at yourself in the mirror of like, can I actually do this? And not just like self-doubt, but like a real inventory of what you've got going on. And
yeah,
that can be hard. And I think that was for me with teaching. It was a huge identity crisis and still is. I'm still talking about it in therapy. Like it's been, almost 4 years and I'm like, or I guess 3. And I'm still like, oh man, that was a lot of my life that I spent trying to be this thing that I just was like, no.
yeah,
But
yeah. So I'm actually subbing just a very little bit,
mhm.
um, probably a little bit more than I want to, honestly. But one of my coworkers from the junior high I was teaching at is now teaching at my kids' junior high.
Mm,
And when my oldest was in 7th grade, she was like, "Please come back and sub just for us, just for the 2 fax teachers here." And I was like, "Oh, I could actually do that because my youngest was in full day kindergarten that year."
mm.
So so I've been doing that a little bit, and some days I like it and other days I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also a really tough school, and they have a hard time getting subs,
Mm,
and so
yeah.
yeah, I've got mixed feelings about it, but I really like that I'm able to help the teachers and
Yeah.
like I have a skill set. Like they can do cooking labs and they can do sewing when I'm there and I know how to help them.
Right.
And that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
But there are other days that I'm like, oh, this is hard. And I just want to stay home and sew.
Yeah. I can imagine. I know I've
Yeah.
thought about it like, oh, I could go back and sub. And I was like, you know what? No, I really don't want to. And I'm just like, yeah, it's hard. It's like once you start your own thing, it's like that's your focus. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand having that relationship and just being able to say, okay, I'm only going to sub in this school for these teachers. Like that's a nice flexibility to have because then
Hmm.
you don't have to say yes to anything else.
Yeah.
And that's probably such
And
a
like only if they ask ahead of time. I don't do any of the last minute, oh, I'm sick,
mhm,
which, they need that too. But
right.
I like to plan ahead.
Yeah. Well, and you have a business. It's not like you can just
Yep.
leave your day willy-nilly and say, "Oh yeah, the subbing is my priority." Like,
Right.
so it's good that again, boundaries, right? Like I can help
Mhm.
you in this capacity.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell people no. It's hard to say, I can't do that for you. And
Yeah.
so,
Especially when they need it.
mhm,
And yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mm. So I guess, yeah, like when you got into digital design, was there something that like did something happen that made you think I can just make my own, or were you just kind of like, yeah, I guess how did you get into it?
So there was this one design. It was I think it was Good Vibrations from Urban Elements. It's just the wavy
Mhm,
line. And I was playing around with that one with the layout and like, what if I do a 50% offset?
mhm,
And what if I overlap it? And like, oh, that looks really cool. And that eventually turned into what is now my double Dutch design, which
mhm,
is an extended width pattern.
mm,
Um, so you don't have to worry about getting it set up just exactly right. It's extended width and you plug and play and there it goes.
yeah,
And I remember thinking, this is such a cool thing. I want to be able to sell this to other people. And um, around the time that I'd figured that out was when Pro Stitcher Designer came out.
Mhm.
Because I'd started looking into it, and at the time, Art and Stitch was the only program available. And that one's pretty expensive. It's like $1,500.
Oh,
And at
wow.
the time, that was like, that wasn't accessible for me.
Mhm.
And um, so living here in Utah, northern Utah, actually, I'm really close to Handy Quilter. Now,
Okay.
I'm not a Handy Quilter user. I have a Novus, but I have a lot of friends in my local guilds that either do work for Handy Quilter or have worked for Handy Quilter. So I found out about the software and uh, just jumped right in because it was less than half the price at the time. I'm not sure current prices, but it was less than half the price of Art and Stitch. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And just never looked back. It's been so fun.
Yeah.
And there was certainly a huge learning curve. Like um, since the Panto shop opened, thepantoshop.com,
Mhm.
I'm selling with them. And I've been going backwards through all my designs to make a information PDF to say,
Mhm.
like, this is how you set it up and recommended sizes and all that. And while I've been doing that, I've been checking to make sure my older designs are continuous and smooth and
Yeah.
everything. And I'm like, wow, I've learned so much since I did that. Let's fix this here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've really come a long way. And uh it's been kind of fun. So um I did a 100-day project.
Mm.
So in 2022, was that Phoenix when QuiltCon was in Phoenix? I think it was. Um,
So, yeah.
so that was my first QuiltCon, and I loved it. It was so much fun. I went with a couple of friends and we stayed in an Airbnb,
Mm.
and um, they went to a lecture. I happened to be in a class at the time, the one class I took,
Yeah.
but I don't remember who the speaker was. But they went to a lecture and it was about doing a 100-day project, and they came back so inspired and they told me all about it, and like it was so cool, and this is what she did, and I want to do this. And I thought, I want to do a 100-day project,
Yeah.
and I want it to be designing pantographs. So my goal was, I just had a notebook and I was like, I'm going to draw one every day. Actually, it was an old planner.
Mhm.
Well, not old. It was a planner that I wasn't using. So on every day, I would just draw a pantograph. And the ones I drew then, because I was still I'd been doing it for 6 months or so at that point,
Mhm.
and curves are really hard.
Yeah.
Well, they were really hard for me when I first started.
Mhm.
I'm much more competent with them now, but I would draw something and it might have been outside my skill set. Um, or maybe it was ugly, but my goal was to draw at least one a day.
Mhm.
And some days I drew a lot more than one. Like if I was subbing
Mhm.
and they're like, it's like, do this assignment or watch this movie. And
Yeah.
basically, I just had to be a warm body in a chair.
Right.
Some days I would just draw during my downtime in between giving kids instructions. So at the end of the 100 days, I want to say it was 476.
Oh my word.
So it was so amazing for my brain to go through this exercise and realize, because at first I thought, I'm going to run out of ideas in a couple months,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I've realized that the more ideas you have, the more ideas you have.
Yeah.
Like it's like a river, and the more you take out, it just keeps flowing, and there's more to take.
Yeah.
And you can really train your brain to be creative and to come up with ideas and to look at things in a different way. And
Mhm.
it's just been so fun. And
Yeah.
Like, I take pictures of inspiration everywhere. I'm like, "Pause the TV, I gotta take a picture of that," and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, but I just love it, and when I sit down to design and I might start out with a certain thing in mind, and then it kinda morphs into something else, and
Yeah.
it's just so fun.
Yeah.
I just love it.
That's amazing. And like speaks so much to curiosity. Like I think a lot of people get scared of what they have. And so I know for a while, like I just would stick to like setting up pantographs exactly how I knew how and like not really venture into anything different. And like we took a class last summer um to just learn the updated version of our software better. And I just came away from it like, oh my gosh, I preach to my would preach to my students, you gotta just try stuff. You gotta just try. And, I came out of a master's degree in educational technology. And it's like the whole thing is to just like, I mean, excuse my French, but fuck around and find out. Like, just like try stuff. There's no harm in just
Mhm.
trying. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from is like just pushing buttons and seeing what things do. And maybe not on a client quilt,
Yes.
but like
Right.
giving
Yeah.
yourself the space and time and just throw some random scraps on the frame and see what you can come up with. And
Mhm.
there were that same summer there was a quilt that needed the client wanted custom quilting and there was a spot on it that I just couldn't find a motif for that. And she's like, I want it to look exactly like this. And she had a design in mind. And so I digitized it and I made it happen. And I was like, oh, look at me. Like it's just a block, but it still was like so empowering to
Mhm.
be like, okay, I have the basics mastered. Like just try some stuff. And
Yeah.
it is it is time consuming because you have to know how to set everything up. And you're right, curves are so hard to get them smooth and like connecting properly. And ugh, but you know, handy dandy computers and digitizing tools and all the stuff they can help you smooth everything out and
Mhm.
whatever. But that I think as creatives, whatever your creative business is, curiosity is so important and
Yeah.
just not being afraid to just get out there and try stuff and
Yeah.
hopefully with some information and some
Right.
make informed decisions, but be a risk taker in that way of like, okay, I have some information. I maybe don't know everything, but I have enough to get started and to try things. And
Yeah. Yeah, and to not be afraid to fail,
yeah.
like, or to just have bad ideas.
Hmm.
Like, some of the drawings that I did during my 100-day challenge were so ugly. Like, I had one that looked like toes. That was not what I was going for, but it looked like toes, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's never gonna make it into my shop."
Right.
And, weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, uh, you know, you gotta take those risks. Like Miss
Exactly.
Frizzle says, like, I can't remember the exact, like, "Get messy, make mistakes,
Yeah.
and learn from them and get
Yep.
better."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And you'll never know what you can do if you don't ever let yourself try. So
Mhm.
just being willing, yeah, that willingness. I had a professor who would always say, your willingness to appear foolish in this class is going to be where you find success. And I was like,
Oh.
shit, that's good. I was like writing it down in my
Yeah.
notebook, like, because
Yeah.
it's
I'm gonna
true.
need to
It's
write that one down.
yeah, like what holds us back is what we perceive other people perceive about us. And so that fear of failure is so strong in so many people that they just never get out of their comfort zone. And I'm guilty of it so often. And I just have to keep reminding myself, like, no, you got to get uncomfortable or this isn't going to go anywhere.
Mhm.
And the times where, I've pushed through my discomfort to drag my mom through hers with me, like, we've found success. And, same thing with the podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, who wants to listen to me? Like, and now here we are. Like, this is a great
Yeah.
great thing that, I mean, it's great for me. I enjoy it. So
Yeah, that's
anyway,
awesome.
it's I think it's great to see like so many people getting out there and doing it and then showing it to other people because I think that kind of shameful feeling or like embarrassment, it thrives in the dark. And so when we can see each other trying and failing and trying again and be transparent about those things, then I think
Yeah.
it makes more space for people to take chances and try things. And
Yeah.
I don't know. It's what life is all about, I guess. To me, like if you always stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to get to experience the best things that are out there for you.
That is so true. Yeah. I really like my comfort zone.
Hmm.
Um, I really, really do.
Hmm.
But so many of the best experiences I've had have been outside of it. And
Hmm.
yeah, it takes a lot of courage
Yeah.
to make that leap sometimes.
Yeah. It for sure does. Well, I'm just like, I just get inspired by your designs too. They resonate with
Thank
me. I
you.
really like them. They're just like so clean and beautiful. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's like fun to see all the new ones pop up and get to, I don't know. I'm like, I
Yes.
wish I could buy them all because who wouldn't want to, but budgets.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They are a real thing. That's true.
Yeah, that's so fun. And so you do long arming for people. Do you do mail in or
Yeah.
just local?
I do both.
Okay.
Most of my clients are local.
Hmm.
And I still don't do a ton. I really need to do more because I've got 2 machines. I could technically run a lot of quilts.
Yeah.
So, I really need to make more of an effort to get more clients. So, any listeners, if you're looking for a long armor that isn't Amanda, because
Mm,
if Amanda quilts for you, stay with her because she's awesome. But,
we can share.
yeah.
It's all good. There's plenty to go around.
Right. I love that quote, "A rising tide lifts all boats."
Hmm.
Like, it is amazing how big this industry is
Hmm.
and that there's still room for more.
Yeah.
And it's just still growing and it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. And you're right. It's like if we lift each other up, then it just only benefits everybody involved because
Yes.
if we're spending time tearing each other down, then it just like, what kind of message are we sending that like this is some cutthroat industry where nobody cares about each other and we're all just vying for, a monopoly? It's like, no, there's plenty to go
No.
around and like it is art and so there's a weird balance of like business but also honoring like energies and like
Mhm.
relationships. And I always talk about this too, like if you find a long armor that you could have a good relationship with, then like stick with that person because not all
Yeah.
energies vibe and not everybody has the same vision. But if you find your person, then I mean, keep them. It's
Mhm.
because that relationship is I think to me, the most important part because person might be a great long armor and they might do great work, but if your personalities don't meld or if you can't see eye to eye on how things should be done, like it's just going to be a struggle no matter what.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so just
I've had a number of my clients graduate into owning their own long arms,
mm,
which has been fun to see. Like, part of me is like, "Oh, a little bit sad,"
mhm.
but super excited and happy for them too.
Yeah.
So, it's been fun to see that. But another fun part of long arming for me is um, because quite a few of my clients, well, several, are local guild members
Hmm.
from the Salt Lake Modern Quilt Guild, and they almost always pick my designs, which is just so much fun. It just means so much to me when my friends pick my designs to go on their quilts,
Yeah.
and not just because they're my friends, but because they legitimately want that design on their quilt. It's so validating.
Yeah, I'm
It's really fun.
sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and just to see people using what you've created, it's like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. When, when I was at QuiltCon in this year, in
Mhm.
2023, um, I was walking through the quilt show and I walked around a corner and I saw this quilt that had one of my pantographs on it, and I didn't know it was gonna be in the show,
Mm,
and I just was overcome with all the good feelings.
yeah,
It was amazing, and, uh, just to see that in real life, like, in a completely unexpected location, and,
yeah,
um, similar things have happened a couple times since, like, at more local shows, but, like, "Oh, that has my pantograph on it," and then I see, "Oh, my friend Lacey quilted that."
yeah,
So that's been really fun too,
yeah,
but, like, to see it at QuiltCon was just like, "Ah!" I was so excited.
yeah.
It was
Oh my
great.
gosh. Oh my gosh. I know. I'm just like, we're going to Raleigh and I'm so excited. So, I
I
mean, we'll
cannot
be there.
wait.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just like
Yeah.
so giddy. The closer it gets, the more I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Because I'm just so excited to like meet everybody in person and like
Mhm.
hug everyone because I'm just like, this has
Yeah.
been so fun and to like for so many of us to get to be in one place together,
Mhm.
like doing the thing that we love to do and talking about it and listening about it and learning more about it is like, ugh, I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
so fun.
Like I said, Phoenix was my first time,
Mhm.
and unless, like, there's some major family something or other going on, I'm not gonna miss QuiltCon again because it's just so good for my soul. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful.
Ooh, I'm really looking
So
forward to
excited.
it. Yeah. We're like double whammy tripping it because my younger brother and his wife live just a few hours away. So we're gonna go
Oh,
tack a trip to
nice.
see them on to the end of QuiltCon and then
That's great.
get to go spend some time with them and their puppies and
Fun. That
yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah, we're like,
So
wait, we can
nice.
go see Ben and Gates.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun and like yeah, I'm so excited. I got a bunch of stickers and like ready to hand those out. I'm like, I hope I got enough, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I love the stickers. That's a really fun thing to do.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I haven't gotten mine yet for this year, so I need to get on that. But yeah.
yeah. How fun. Well, gosh, I'm just like I said, I just get so inspired by your designs and I love them. I wish I could have them all. I think one day I will, hopefully. But for now, let's share with listeners where they can get to you.
Okay. So, currently, um, I sell all my designs in my Etsy shop. It's called The Quilting Mill. You can find me on Instagram at The Quilting Mill. And more and more of my designs are showing up in the Panto shop. And I'm hoping that they will be available with some other of the pantograph distributors by the time that this episode airs.
Okay.
So um, maybe I'll be able to say, hey, you can put this in the show notes that they're also available here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I will let you know if that happens.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I was like, is there something else to say? Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, basically Etsy and Instagram. I do have a Facebook page. I- I'm a little bit less active in the Facebook page, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, we'll put those links in the show notes. And then, yeah, if you have any more for us to add before this comes out, then we'll put those in there too, just to make sure
Okay.
people can get to you wherever they want to get to you from. And yeah, besides that, we'll just keep an eye out on all your designs and hopefully, um, acquire a few between now and seeing you at QuiltCon because that's going to be so
Yeah,
fun.
that'll be so fun. I can't wait to meet you in person.
I know. Me too. So
So, do you want a coupon code for your listeners? I have some cute
amazing.
t-shirts too.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's just say Amanda.
Okay.
Let's have that be our code.
Please code Amanda.
And that sounds great.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was so fun. I love talking long arming. So this has
Thank
been,
you so much for having me. It's been an honor and really fun.
yeah, thanks so much.